Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
And this is Aaron, I go by Treffinwood on Discord.
As always, links in the show notes, and I think we're finally done with the news.
Yeah, finally.
Remember when we used to go like 8 months with no news?
Mm-hmm.
I miss those days.
Good old days.
Good old days, no news.
I don't. I want news.
I don't either.
I want only news. I want news all the time, constantly news. I basically want to live. I want this podcast to basically just be an extension of a news channel, basically. Specifically,
Make it easier on us. That's for sure.
24/7 news. I want it. That's what I want. I want to be part of that machine. I'm kidding, of course. I hate that machine so much.
All right. So currently playing. What are you guys playing? I know what Parker's playing.
Yeah,
Tell us, Parker.
I'm gonna break the game wide open. I'm planning on playing only the card Wolverines. Whatever list facilitates that best is the list I'll be playing, because I'm playing the card Wolverines. That is my list. Currently, that looks like Cyclops X-Men, and so far it's undefeated after only 2 games, but so far undefeated. I am excited to continue playing it. What's bizarre about the list is I'm not trolling when I say that the card was really bad when Storm was the only leader, but now that there are 2 different leaders that give, pretty good power efficiency, and power is something you can get, playing it on turn 2 is not impossible, and it feels great. So right now I'm not trying to rush it. I'm not trying to make it happen. But
yeah, you don't want your wings to melt.
Yeah.
So in your 2 games, how many times did you play Wolverines?
Both games.
Okay.
One 100%.
Game.
Yeah. One game it dazed. We KO'd one character and dazed another. And in another game, I got a full Berserker Barrage spray off with it, or beam off with it, and I don't know if it dazed anybody, but it did do a lot of damage across their list.
You were playing Logan, not Wolverine, so it was the Tornado Claw.
Tornado Claw. Sorry, I have decided that I think Tornado Claw, or that even though that Wolverine doesn't get his native bonus when he's next to X-23, it basically gives him something to do with his power. He does have an okay use. His power is okay. The auto throw is it's pretty cool, but you're trying to go make him a solo artist most of the time. But if he's not a solo artist and he's around X-23, well, he still gets the benefit of a bunch of rerolls. I am pretty confident still that's the best use, because I feel like I want, OG Wolverine, you want to use his power a lot. And since Logan, you don't necessarily want to use his power all the time, or you don't need to, he can spend it on something like Wolverines for pretty awesome effect. I also really like the card in combination with Survival, the new card from Apocalypse, because the old problem with it is both characters are, specifically X-23, is a little flimsy. So if you played it and then it's something, okay, cool, I'll just kill, just down X-23, there's half of your efficiency from the card gone. And correct me if I mention,
if she was already injured, it's just gone.
Right, it's gone.
Yeah.
So with Survival now, if one of the 2 characters has been flipped already, they definitely have power for it. Likely both of them have power, because Cyclops is feeding one of them power enough, so that start of the turn you play Survival. First activation you play that, and now they're going to get efficiency from it. And this, whoever gets to play Survival doesn't have to activate first. It feels pretty great. I really like. I really like it. Again, it has to be the best card in the game, because its exact counterpart was restricted. So this is a moral stance. This is a moral stance that I'm taking, and until the internet agrees with me and starts yelling so loudly that it gets canceled, I'm just going to.
Well, Fallback and Warpath are basically the same card, and Warpath got banned. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah, these cards are
so dumb.
Wolverines.
You sounded dumb when I listened to you, and you sound dumb when I listen to you in person.
We like to triple down.
Wolverines is has to be meta bending because Brothers in Arms is completely broken. So if that's completely broken, then Wolverines is also completely broken. And prove me wrong.
Internet, please don't listen to Parker.
Battlestar Galactica.
Oh no, I think exactly the internet should listen to me because the internet is fucking ridiculous. I think this goes out directly to the internet. I actually am not even mad at AMG. I'm mad at the internet because I think AMG feels like they have to respond. I'm mad at the zeitgeist, the groupthink, the dumbass sheep who just pile on the bleh, bleh, and they just.
Well, my personal favorite is that we went like 10 months or something with CGR unnerfed, and then it took like literally a month for Brothers in Arms to get restricted. It's like, come on, guys.
And the thing is, like I said before, my biggest point is as soon as 2 more releases happened, like 2 more models released, then it would have restricted itself. That's what I think it would happen. It would have restricted itself because all of a sudden you would have seen it happen a lot less because there would be a new show in town and everybody would be excited to try that now.
I do think the 15-point Asgard list was quite strong, but outside of like specifically trapping you on Researcher, I really don't think it was that bad. We've seen way more broken stuff get ignored for way longer than that. That's the only pushback I have against it. I don't think that anyone can argue that 15-point list wasn't very strong, but it's just weird that we seem to change the rules on how we deal with things based on specifically some faction versus others. Like CGR was allowed to run rampant for almost a year.
And
everyone was complaining.
A player which shall not be named heard this rant at the game store. And he was like, have you ever played against Brothers in Arms? I go, yeah. And he's like, what happened when they played it? It's like, it KO'd one of my models. And
the 6-point model he activated.
Wasn't that terrible? And I was like, no. Like, he spent a tactics card and 10 points of models and a lot of power, and I could have stopped him by moving his models away, and I didn't, so he got to do his thing. You should get to do the thing you get to do. Like, I don't understand why the answer...
Helios laser existing.
Precisely. Like
hammering people at random, and you're like, this is fine.
Right, and range 5 from everywhere, and everybody combos
north line of sight and cover.
Yeah, it just... So, I guess I'm saying is, it seems... Was it a good card? Yes. Was it also very conditional and required lots of resources? Yes. Like, all these things seem very fair. If restriction is about making you choose, some of the most unfair cards so you don't get to have whatever you want, that is perfectly reasonable. I think the restriction is fine. But to restrict that very conditional card seems really bizarre. So I'm taking exactly the same conditional card with 2 cheaper models.
That's true. You only need 5 points of models to play your card,
and an affiliation that has cheaper models that might be better. And I'm going to see if that's just. I want to see if the whole internet decides and agrees with me that it must be the best thing in the game because.
Well, I know you don't have to wait. I can tell you right now, the internet will not agree with you.
Yeah, I know.
But all right. So we've heard from Parker. Aaron, rebuttal.
I don't know if I want to get into it. In 30 seconds or less, yeah, you're wrong, because it's a tempo thing. It's the turn 2, the same issue people had with kidnapping, Thanos, the super tall murder squads. There wasn't... You say there was counterplay? What counterplay? You just give up the entire center of the board? Thor 2 activates top of 2, deletes a model. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. I'm done.
The counterplay he was talking about and was like webline and stuff, because I believe the Brothers in Arms doesn't stop pushes. So you just got to keep them separate, and it's way less of a useful card because they're burning an activation just to turn it back on. But
you don't care about Bill's activation. It's 100% just Bill double moves turn 1 to let Thor do whatever he wants.
Sure.
Yes, there's counterplay to everything. The reason it got nerfed was because there was data. People were pointing to Longshank's data for Asgard when there was no data for CGR. Right, CGR was just CGR is bad, and they're like, "Is he really?"
Yeah.
You couldn't actually point to a CGR win rate. You played them in a bunch of different places.
I understand that logic.
That's my thought.
Perspective. No, I think you're not wrong. You're not off base there. The issue I have with it is like as a developer of a game, go play one of those people. Go to TTS and play against those people once. Play one game against the list people are complaining about, and turns out you can make the decision pretty quick on if it feels oppressive or not. And maybe they did, and they just had a skewed situation, but like we've seen probably 5 or 6 nerfs to CGR over the last like 4 to 6 months because the actual hit to CGR happened. Then it feels like when the card rotation happened, there was even more later hits to CGR that were pre-planned that just hadn't come out yet. And so like CGR basically got completely dumpstered, but it took them almost a year to do it. It's like you can't tell me you went from the only thing that made their mind up was the LVO finals. Like that can't be the only thing.
It was planned before that happened.
Exactly. So like then why did you make everyone suffer through it for so long? Versus this, I understand that like guys like the Asgard win rate. It's like yeah, but they're also the new faction, and it's been out for like less than a month. They haven't even figured out what the list is yet. Like it's like calm down a little bit. Like I just don't understand why some things get to last a year, and or Thanos lasted almost 3 years, and then like all of a sudden, oh this has to get hit immediately. It's like whatever. It just seems like we're changing the rules.
I mean, they also printed like they literally if. The week after, they printed a card that says you can't remove my model on top of 2, right? Or top of 3.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really bizarre. Like, that's what I meant by saying, like, I don't know. Every time they make a new release, there's a new thing in the game that, equalizes some of these outliers. And and then people would have to go, okay, well, maybe Brothers in Arms is not the auto-include I thought because it's not actually giving me enough. Like... Or if it is auto-include while you're playing that affiliation, cool. There are lots of cool cards that are auto-includes when you're playing certain affiliations. Like, I don't, again,
well, also, like, I've already... Just talking about what are the odds that he was just going to fucking daze you anyway? Like, there's that limited power band of, like, what was, like, 6-point Thor activating, trying to kill your model versus 6-point Thor activating with Brothers in Arms trying to kill your model. It's not like it, like, tripled his effectiveness. It just made it a little bit more guaranteed.
I say I'll push back there. I think it actually did, because he needed the 6 power to be able to pounce and throw. It's not so the damage ramped up because it enabled further on damage, right?
Yeah.
So that I think was the problem. If it was just 2 10 dice attacks, I don't think it would have been problematic at all. It was the fact that if he did spike on the 10 dice, which it's 10 dice, right? You don't even have to spike that hard. That enabled more attacks. It's like, if you get 10 damage, add 4 to it.
He's also spending power for the card that he, like, you're just making it harder to get to that 6 power. Like, if you just don't spend any power, he's getting to 4 just by existing.
Right. He starts turn 2 with 4. He plays that. So he's got to get
2 damage with 2 7 dice builders or whatever it is.
Well, he has to spend 1 for the card, I think. So he's got to get.
It's 2. I'll check.
No, you're right. I think it's 2. So he was down to 2, so he needed to get 4 damage.
It is only 1 each. There you go.
Okay, so then it was
better
needed to get 3.
I don't know. I roll a lot of 10 dice attacks, do fuck all nothing, and I think it's a good card, but I don't think it was. If that card deserves to be restricted, we need to take a hard look at the restricted list.
Also, I mean, I'm just looking at the game. Like, if you're like, I want to spend like a premium, character to do a really blitzy move on the top of turn 2 and get lots of consistent dice and turn that dice into more damage, you can play like Metal Tyrant in Cabal, right? And then you have plenty of characters that can play Dark Reign, and it gets you a similar thing. Like, that's like fucking Sabretooth for 4 points can kill a lot of shit under Dark Reign turn. Like, there's a bunch of things in the game.
Like, for me, it's like Heroes for Hire and what's the other card I was thinking of? Shit. I Am a Baron After All. Like, if those 2 cards aren't on the same level as Brothers in Arms, then I'm not playing the game right. Like, those 2 cards affect the games I play way more than Brothers in Arms ever did.
I think by and large you guys are not 100% wrong. I think all of those cards could fall into the really good, could potentially be restricted category. Why they went that way with Brother in Arms while at the same time restricting Researcher is, I think, potentially an overreaction.
It feels like a massive overreaction to me, considering, like, I've watched people playing this list, and, like, I've lost to it, sure, but it didn't even feel impressive when I lost to it. It was like, yeah, that's something that exists in the game that doesn't even seem out of place. Like, you have a 6-point model being backed up by a 4-point model, you played a tactics card, and you dazed a 4-pointer. Like, yeah, obviously that was going to happen. Like, it didn't feel oppressive at all. I don't know. I get where you're coming from too. It seems like if this is the line to trigger a multiple card restriction, it just seems like I haven't been watching the game correctly this whole time. It's like there's been way more oppressive lists than this that have never been nerfed.
No, I'm just looking at it like, fuck, like there are really old characters with one Tactus card and one other character can just wreck the fucking world. And that just...
Yeah. How long was Thanos on Hammers and Researcher basically unbeatable, and they just didn't give a shit?
Fucking Magneto should do as much or more damage than Thor, right? Mm-hmm. Given that the opponent has the same physical and energy defense. Like, on his turn, he'll reroll maybe twice with Dark Rain, and then throw as many times as he wants. Like, he's not throwing himself, but he can definitely throw twice.
He's more movement restricted than Thor is, but yeah.
Right, but I'm just giving you for example, right? Like,
no, sure. The issue I have is like Sabretooth can just straight do that much damage.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
Yeah, there's so many ways to do this in just simply Cabal with one tactics card.
I mean, just play Dark Rain with Ulik. Honestly, like it's a similar damage output.
Yeah, like Ultron, Ulik, Magneto, maybe MODOK. Malekith costs one more point, but like there are just so many things in the game that do exactly this. I do think
that specifically the double tapping eliminating a model from play is a bad experience. But like Parker was saying, they just added Survivor to the game. So
okay, enough Brother in Arms talk.
All right, we've heard from Parker. Aaron, what have you been playing?
So lately I've been rocking Asgard. Then I had a game at the shop prior to the recent tournament. Played Quentin of Webb's Lore. Ended up losing it. I ended up not playing Thor or Brothers in Arms because I needed movement and to go wider. It was a good game, but it led me to believe that I think that list was going to have issues into hard scenario without getting lucky with the crises.
Yeah.
So
I definitely feel like people have just decided to move away from the scenario lists because they want to play other things, but I don't think they've been pushed out. And I think we're in this weird valley of people exploring new parts of the game, but like the lists are still there and they're still just as intimidating as they used to be. And people are getting used to not having to play them very often. And I think that's going to come swinging back at some point, and the scenario lists are just going to like kill everyone basically.
Yep. So I swapped things up for the LVO qualifier down in Springfield, and I chose to go back to my 2024 roots. Parker, can you guess what I played?
2024 roots, switch things up. Criminals with a bunch of 3-pointers and 2-pointers.
Nope.
Was that 2024?
No, 2024. No, that was like 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 2024. This is 2024.
What was he playing at the end of last LVO?
Fuck.
You don't remember? Oh man.
Let me think.
Parker doesn't even care about you.
That is not how my love works. How
he does? Parker has a great memory. He never forgets anything.
I have the most perfect memory. What were you playing? It wasn't Web Warriors.
Just tell him. He's never going to get it. Just tell him.
Unaffiliated.
Oh, with your Thanos stuff?
Yeah.
Thanos with Wolverine, where Wolverine's in your deployment zone on turn 1.
Yeah.
You're like, what is this guy doing?
Well, that was Weapon X. That was Thanos Weapon X. But so I decided, because the Asgard list didn't really have a super good answer to hard scenario, I was like, I'm just going to design a list without affiliation boundaries. And we're going to play a list that loves to scrum and has the flexibility to go wide. So I guess we're going to take the rest of the episode to talk about that a little bit, and then the tournament. So it starts off with Thanos, and then I play the 3 reroll any characters.
Nebula, Black Panther, Zemo.
So I ditched Nebula.
Okay.
She was in the original incarnation. I traded her out for another 4-pointer with reroll any.
That's Sif.
Yep. So the goal here is to play Sif, Panther, Zemo, and Thanos with Reality Space at 19. So for that reason, I took 2 19-point secures. Looking to take my secures if I...
Reality Space, because you used to do a different one, not Reality, right? It was...
I think this version...
Soul.
Reality Space was always the standard.
I tested a lot of stuff out. I had Soul at some point, but Soul
you did Soul. Yeah, you did Soul Space. I remember. Yep.
I've done a lot of different things. But anyway, we went Reality Space because we're just gonna hit face really hard. So that was Plan A. But then Plan B needed to be, what if I run into Webs or Hellfire, or pick your scenario team. Mm-hmm. So I went with Emma, Miles, Black Cat, Toad for a scoring core. I then added Beta Ray Bill for displacement, and Namor for a medium base long mover. And because I never have yet, I decided to give him the time gem.
Ooh.
Just for funsies.
A little bit of spice.
So that's the list in a nutshell. It is very comfortable going downtown with Thanos, and it is also relatively comfortable playing wide with Emma.
I was surprised you didn't do Rhino over Bill.
I really wanted a displacement. You're not wrong, though. I mean, I gave this list about 10 minutes of thought. Yeah. I put characters together until I hit 10, and I'm like, we're good. Okay, happy.
You did it.
I did it, and I got 0 practice games and went to the tournament. We won't bother talking about the rest of the crises or team tactics. Although team tactics for Hellfire is remarkably difficult.
I actually had go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, my question for you is, are both of your restricted cards, is one a leadership card and is one a mission? Because I think that would have been interesting.
That's what I tried into Quentin. I went Researcher Brothers in Arms, and I was like, yeah, that sucks. So I ended up going Hellfire Club Embrace.
Hellfire Club Embrace.
So I did not take Researcher.
You did not take
the
Researcher.
Fact that you can burn a restricted slot and have a 1 in 3 chance of even getting to play with it is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's best case. Like, It might be worse because your opponent was like, I choose your blues. And you're like, fuck!
Okay, so game 1, I ended up playing into the man, the myth, the legend, James. He who created the promo video. Did you not see the promo video for this?
No.
Oh, I will have to link it.
Nobody told me.
It was relatively epic.
Nice.
I'll find it.
Good job, James.
He did a good job. So he was playing Black Order Cabal, and he had Researcher as one of his restricted cards. I won Prio and purposely picked my blues to give him a shot at playing Researcher. I was like, you spent a restricted card? We're going to see if we can make that happen. Sure enough, we do. We flip. I think it was Gamma Researcher.
Oh, shit. He done goofed.
Yep, so it was 15 points. I play Panther, Zemo, Thanos into Thanos, Zemo, Red Skull. There's only one model different. Like, is Panther or Red Skull better? And Red Skull obviously comes with leadership.
Wait, what?
The answer. Say what?
How does Red Skull come with the leadership?
Because he's playing under Cabal with Red Skull Zemo. No, Red Skull 3.
Oh, for some reason I thought you said Panther, Red Skull. Okay,
right. Yeah. Well, so those are the two that were different, yeah.
Yeah, Aaron had Panther and his opponent had Red Skull 3, and so he got a leadership and Aaron didn't.
Right. Well, for some reason I thought his third model was Panther, and I just got it confused. His third model was Zemo. Now I understand.
Can I guess how that went for him?
Sure.
Not well.
It in fact did not go well for him. Correct. Turn 1, I fished Red Skull 3 off of his back point and dazed him. Thanos spiked some dice, my Thanos. And turn 2, I Desecreed Zemo'd into him and failed to kill his Red Skull 3, which was sad times. Left him on 1. But then he had 0 power after doing a bunch of spenders and placing himself. So later in the turn, I was able to KO him with a pounce from Panther, while he sadly looked at his brace that he couldn't pay for.
Yeah.
I ended up playing Venomize on Thanos to heal about 4, which caused him to take more actions to go into him. Then on turn X, I forget what it was, I went and I played Wisdom of the Ancients with Black Panther 1 after he'd been dazed with Prio into his Thanos.
That's the Count Skulls?
That's the Count Skulls.
That was a huge... That's one of the reasons why I put Panther into my version of that list, which is... because
all I'm going to say is I'm pretty sure this list is fuck busted. Because...
Yeah. Maybe they should have restricted Wisdom of the Ancients.
Maybe. When you're Desecreeing a 9 dice reroll any Count Skulls, yeah, life was pretty good.
Yeah, you just do
If
insane
only you were
amounts of
just.
damage.
What stops you from playing Red Skull 3? Nothing?
Nothing. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there
take
you go.
the better model.
No, I understand. It's just that the points work out differently. You never know.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I won activation to Thanos off the board. I desecrated the first one and then got power to be able to funnel extra power into his spender, and I rolled 9 dice. I think it was 9 followed by 9.
With survivor and
Survival.
Survival. Yeah,
Mhm.
with survival and what was the Panther card called? I forget now.
Wisdom of the Ancients.
Yeah, with those 2 cards, like those huge boons for that list. Like it's so fucking dumb.
I don't think I ended up playing survival in this game just based off of who needed to activate first, because it only works if Panther goes first.
Do you think survival is going to be the next Indomitable, or we're just waiting for it to get restricted?
I don't know. I'll talk about one other game that was hugely relevant, and the rest of them it really wasn't. So I don't
really
think
excited to know why.
It's an Indom-esque card, and I think the purpose it serves should have been baked into the core rules. Like, you should just not be able to. It should just be a core rule.
I was a huge fan of the Shatterpoint version of Dazing, where you just go into stasis until you activate again. That would have been way better.
So
maybe we'll play a tournament with that rule.
It's going to be ubiquitous. I just don't know if it's a problem. Let's put it that way. So I ended up tabling him on turn 4 or turn 5. I just killed all his guys. Part of it was dice. A lot of it was dice, right? We're just throwing haymakers back and forth.
Yeah.
But Venomized and Wisdom of the Ancients really kind of helped me heal and put it over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venomized, Wisdom, Survival, those cards are just so fucking good for that exact kind of, like, just big haymaker kind of lists. Yeah. Man.
Yep.
Continue.
Then on to round number 2, I played into local Zach, playing his Wakanda list. He had Thanos as an anti-Thanos piece, and so I just asked him, "Hey, do we want to play a Thanos game or not?" He's like, "I really don't want to." I was like, "Great, my Thanos gets to sit over on the side." So I ended up playing Emma into him, which was absolutely wrong call, but we did it anyway. This was a very interesting game that I almost completely threw because I thought I had Prio when I didn't. Like, I even went top of 2. Like, Charge, he's like, I have Prio. I'm like, shit. Like, my entire turn 1, every position was predicated on having Prio for round 2. It was bad. I lost Sif without her making any attacks other than her round 1, which did nothing. He is able to daze Sif and my Panther on 2. Turn 3, I have the option to play survival, and I'm like, no, because if I play it on Panther, you just daze Sif, and if I play it on Sif, you just daze Panther. So it's kind of irrelevant, so I choose not to play survival. He proceeds to play Wakanda Forever, daze my Toad, KO my Sif, and leave my Panther on 1. It was spicy. And he'd gone with his Wisdom of the Ancients. With his Panther, so he's now counting skulls with 7 health. Trip 4 on the defense. So I activate my Panther with 1 health. I play Wisdom of the Ancients for a little offensive Humawetsits. I do good damage into M'Baku, and then I spender his Panther, and I do 11 damage and one-shot him off the board. Just KO'd him. We get down to late in the game. He is up on points, but I have a really big swing turn. I have all the extracts, and I have 3 characters who are all flipped. Emma, Toad, and Zemo. The only model he has left is Red Skull 2 and the Grunts. I play Survival on Zemo. He activates Red Skull. If he one-shots Emma, he wins the game, but he leaves her on 1. And so she runs away and is able to score it out. I ended the game with 7 total health on my 3 models. And the only reason was because he wasn't able to attack Zemo with the second attack from Red Skull. Because Emma placed behind a building with her transformation. So anyway, survival was very key in not letting him attack Zemo. And again, it was just haymakers back and forth with his Wakanda list that he piloted very well and makes me really want to play King T'Challa. That dude got work done before he got one shot.
That's the problem with T'Challa. That's how he works. He feels amazing, and then anybody pays any attention to him, and he just dies like a bitch.
Yep. So that was a great game against Zach. Round 3, I ended up playing Sean Thomas from Arkansas. I played him last year, or earlier this year, I can't remember. He's playing Webs. I choose to go with Emma again, because that's what we designed the list for. It's Infinity Formula, and Parker will tell you how we like to play Infinity Formula. Just grab 2 extracts and collapse onto your side.
Yep.
The problem was he had Prio on Virus, so he picked up an extract and collapsed every single model except for one onto one side, and he just held on to the other side on turn 1. Right, turn 2 he collapsed everyone and left no one on the left side. So he's got 2 extracts in a bunker with 5 people. However, I had Namor. So I do Namor's Spender, which makes him drop an extract. I end up one-shotting his Namor, picking up the extract and running to my side of the table. And it was just too much, right? Because he'd collapsed so hard. He chased me down with Zemo. I used Hellfire Leadership to continue to heal, and he left me on 1 for 3 consecutive turns.
Oh.
So I ended up just scoring it out. That's the quick synopsis there. So
You sound like you got lucky as shit that game.
Yes. So all of these games could have easily been lost, right? If dice go different in game 1 against James, like he's playing basically the same models. Game 2, I said I only had 7 health. I should not have one-shot his Panther. And then I said this game 3, if I don't... Yeah, lots of different dice rolls could have gone differently. Which puts me into game 4, which is the final against Quentin and his Webs.
Oof.
Yeah.
Double Webs.
Yeah. Now, this tournament has a prize for a coaster, an etched coaster for best in affiliation. And I was like, great. Parker, what's the one coaster I want to win?
Hellfire? I don't know.
Jesus fucking Christ. Unaffiliated.
Okay, Brandon. Thank you. Unaffiliated.
Wow. He doesn't even know who you are.
I built this list to play unaffiliated. Hellfire is only the emergency backup. I had to play it into Webs, and I played it into Zach because he asked for no Thanos.
Okay, so let's be fair. Let's be frank. I did not think they would make a coaster for unaffiliated, because if they made affiliation coasters, it does not make any sense to make an unaffiliated coaster. It'd be like it would be a lack of coaster.
There was an unaffiliated entry in the affiliation document.
Okay.
And it used to include simply Punisher.
Okay. Now, I understand why, but I did not, I immediately disqualified that possibility because I imagine no one would build one. You may continue.
Please tell me it's just an X, so it gets confused with the other 4 factions that have an X as their symbol.
It is the Longshank symbol of a question mark and a exclamation point.
Yeah.
So you'd think I'd have this wrapped up, right? Just wrapped up? Nope. Some other jackass decides to go and play unaffiliated on round 3.
What a loser.
What a loser. Any guesses on who that loser, pathetic individual is?
Was it Jeremy?
It was fucking Jeremy.
He's a pretty pathetic loser. So
Jeremy's just like on round 3 at 15, he just plays Hulk and Thanos. Like,
that's how he rolls.
The $1 million question: did he know he was unaffiliated? That's happened a few times too. He looks down and goes, "Oh, I didn't bring any leaders. Oh, I'm not affiliated. Never mind." Like, what the hell?
So, if Jeremy chooses to play unaffiliated in round 4, which he is definitely looking at me and planning on doing, and I play Emma into Webs, he wins the unaffiliated. Regardless of record, he will have had more games with them.
Yeah.
So, I decide to be the whitest of snowflakes and drop unaffiliated into Quentin's Webs in the final. Just so I would have 2 games.
I bet he was happy about that.
Yeah, thrilled. Now, if I lose this game and Jeremy wins,
burn your house down. Like, I think Quentin might legitimately burn your house down.
He might. So I want to talk about this game for a second because it was interesting, but it was I picked my blues and we got Gamma and a 5 extract spiders, Gamma spiders. But I had Prio, so I was able to steal a spider from the middle with Namor. And end up going basically to parity with Webs through 2 turns. It was 7-7.
That's big.
right? Because I'm holding all of the extracts basically back on my bat gamma, and he's got to come into me to get them. And I'm taking his models with spiders when they roll spiders and throwing them back.
Yeah.
So he is spread out in a big, long conga line from my gamma all the way back to his, whereas I'm very centralized, which is really bad for all webbed up. I understand. But I'm just going to deal with that at some point.
But he still has to be able to activate models to attack you.
Yep. And he only had 3 affiliated, so we had 2 unaffiliated. I think dice were by and large fine throughout the game, but I did have 2 significant spikes. I rolled 4 crits into his spectacular Spider-Man to either daze or KO him at one point. That was super lucky. Yeah, Shang-Chi is a complete fucking busted in webs, and never want to see that guy again.
Yeah.
So if you attack Shang-Chi from within 2 and don't do damage, he can throw you. So I was like, well, Black Cat. Surely Black Cat will attack you to stagger you with... so I had Zemo and Namor, so I had the Zamor bubble. So effectively 8 dice, and if I get a wild, I can elusive outside of 2. Nope. I roll like 7 blanks. I completely whiff, do 0 damage, don't get the elusive, and then he's throwing my Black Cat into my models. I'm like, okay, it's the last time we ever attacked that dude. Long story short, we're basically on parity up into, I think he goes up. He has a good turn 3 or 4. I'm down by like 2, but I have Prio, and with Prio, my Namor charges and joint efforts into his Shang-Chi, one-shots him because I'm rolling like 14 dice. Again, because joint efforts plus 2 for every character within 2 of the target. A ton of dice, and then I auto splash a damage into Miles to daze him. So I'm able to daze Shang-Chi and Miles, which leaves him with 1 model remaining who just didn't end up KOing anyone. And I just scored out with moving on to points with the extracts.
Brutal. So
it was a good game back and forth. 2 lucky spikes throughout the game. Really helped me. That was about it.
Well, congrats. You got 3 coasters, didn't you?
Nope. I got Hellfire and unaffiliated, and then I got the title belt for taking it down. Nice. Perrin got Uncanny X-Men. So there may have been a photo with 3 coasters. Jeremy could have had Defenders if he'd have stuck through it, but he failed.
That required Jeremy to stick to anything.
Yeah. Said he was like, how can I fuck Aaron right now?
Yeah.
He, in fact, could have run... He had a legal Defenders team in Game 4 and chose unaffiliated on purpose.
Wow.
Jeremy.
I mean, he didn't have... Yeah, he could have played Defenders with, leaderless Defenders with some tactics cards. I don't know if he had any that would have been good or not, but he was like, nope, it's unaffiliated.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, the only affiliated card for Defenders, well, at least for a long time, was Pentagram.
Yeah.
But now there's the Steadfast, or whatever it's called.
He had Street Smarts in his list. He could have played that. Yeah. But he was like, nope, we're unaffiliated. Just so I can steal from Aaron. He tried. He tried really hard.
Cool. That seemed like a pretty cool event. I would like to see more events like that where they try and make something special out of it. That would be great.
Yep. Hats off to both James for kind of organizing and Patrick for being the TO and running the event. It was super smooth. It was great. It was awesome. Love the guys down there.
What town was it in again?
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield. Parker's never been there.
I have.
So top 6.
I've played at their game store before. What was the name of it again?
Metagames Unlimited.
You're really selling that you've been there.
Last time I was there was for X-Wing like 5 or 6 years ago. It was a long time ago.
It's probably very different now. They've remodeled a few times.
The XM1s and better were myself with Hellfire unaffiliated, Double Webs, Cabal, Servants of the Apocalypse, and Wakanda. So not a bad smattering of stuff.
So Aaron, am I crazy, or I've never wanted to run a alternate format tournament more than right now, where we say, let's throw away official rules and we're going to make our own tournament with our own specific rules that change the way the format works, like Blood Bowl tends to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've never wanted to do that more than right now, because I really dislike this most recent change they made with the restricted cards. This isn't about Brothers in Arms. This is more about Researcher. I feel like restricting Researcher is a huge mistake. I mean, primarily due to the fact that, like, what you talked about, it's like, if you just don't win prio, like, your opponent is hugely incentivized to not let you try and get the mission that you had. And even if you do get it, it's a 1 in 3 chance to even flip it over. It's like, well, of all cards to restrict, that just seems so weird.
I think in restricting it, they're effectively banning it. I don't think anyone should actually waste a restricted card on something they can't be guaranteed to bring with them. So the question really becomes, should they ban Researcher?
Yeah.
I would say probably not, given that there's going to be, a crisis pack in, January?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a 3-month salve. Like, Researcher's been in the game for how long?
Long ass time.
Now they decide they need to quote unquote ban it? Like I don't know that I'm on the it needs to be in the game bandwagon, but it just, the timing seems weird. On the other hand, if you've decided that it needs to go, why wait, right? So I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. To where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm really hoping there's kind of a shakeup coming with the mission pack, but I don't have high hopes for it. We'll see. I'm really worried that it's just going to be reprints of the same fucking missions that we already have.
I have expectations that they will be, I'm going to say, better than the missions that we currently have. I think they will be significantly different. I'll be honest, I kind of have competitive MCP on the back burner. Like, I'm not really theory crafting. I'm not, other than I'll travel for local stuff, but I'm not going to go to cons right now. And I think I'm going to purposefully kind of take the next 3 months off mentally. I'm going to show up to the game night. I'm going to play stuff. I'm going to go to local tournaments, but I'm not going to take it super seriously. Just like for this one. I mean, I know I won it, but it really was just like, hey, let's throw together some unaffiliated stuff, roll a bunch of dice, and have fun. And I'm going to do that for 3 months and kind of, take a mental breather with the expectation, not just hope, but expectation being that in January/Feb, whenever they come out, there will be some really interesting stuff to delve into. If it's not, then we'll see what life holds. But
yeah, if the new thing comes out and it's very samey and they keep a lot of the same concepts, I think that will be a pretty big blow to my motivation to play MCP moving forward.
I think.
But I'm hoping.
Good. You finish your thought. No, you finish your thought.
No, I'm just hoping that it isn't, right? I hope that it's a big change up. I hope that it's new and interesting. I hope that it's progressive and changes the way the current format works. Because, the fact that Thanos, Hellfire Club, and Webbs made it to the finals of the Springfield tournament isn't surprising to me, and in fact is probably a bad sign. I understand that, I would say you two are two of the better players in our area, so, good on you guys by making it to the finals with whatever you play, but it just seems like it doesn't seem interesting for me to go beat my head against the wall of these are the meta lists, and I don't want to play the meta, so.
Sure, and again, I could have lost any one of those every single game, right? So it's not like I walked in and just caked through it. Yeah. So
exactly.
Zach could have easily won it with Wakanda.
Totally agree. And it's not like just because you show up with Webbs that you win and you get to the finals. It's just that that's not a meta group I'm interested in playing into, because I don't find them to be fun games. I find them to be very irritating and tedious games, just so I can watch my opponent win on points 60% of the time. Anyone that's playing it without any actual experience or skill is clearly not going to be able to play it to that level, but it just feels like if you are a good player, it just gives you such a leg up on top of it.
Yep. Both Webbs players went 3-1 and only lost to me.
Yeah.
Now, it's one tournament with relatively small sample size. There were 20, mid-20s. So, big grain of salt.
I can say that, I was basically, by circumstances of life, completely distracted away from and then just restricted from participating in MCP at all, really, except a few podcasts. I even missed a bunch of podcasts in July and August. And then that kind of break, which I didn't ask for, but at the end of August, I had this awesome just renaissance of just super excitement and engagement looking at the game again. And yeah, they had just, they had redone some stuff, but I was really excited to explore the game all of a sudden after feeling that it was really stale. Part of it, I think, is just fatigue, right? You just play with something over and over and over again, and it just kind of gets worn out in your mind, even if you're playing new models and stuff. I think taking and I don't like you said, I think being part of the community that you enjoy is great. Like you don't have to abstain from everything. But taking a breather, just like literally putting it down for a little while, I found that it always really helps. And that's been for anything I've ever done as a long-term hobby, video games.
Yeah, burnout's definitely a thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really healthy actually. If you enjoy something and you feel like it doesn't bring you as enjoyment anymore, I think our natural knee-jerk reaction is to blame the thing or to conspiracy theorize and imagine that there must be something working against us because we used to appreciate it so much. So there must be something there that's missing or something that they quote unquote added to make me feel this way. Or you know what? It could just actually be your exposure. Just the amount of time you've spent staring at the thing has, you're out of capital for it. So just like getting some time away and reinvesting in other things, when you come back, all of a sudden it feels so fresh and new, even though it's exactly the same thing you left just a few months ago. It's a real positive effect. I have felt that. I have been really excited to play this game, in September and now October, specifically because I took 2 months off. It worked really well for me. So I hope it works for you too, Aaron.
Good.
And what I'm hoping for you is even if nothing happens in January, like nothing at all, and you don't get any revivification from AMG, you're just revivified by your absence, right? By not staring at it.
I've been basically forced into that same thing as well. I've been so busy with the studios and everything lately that I haven't really gotten to play nearly as much as I normally do. And I will say it's definitely kicked me into high gear on like being excited about new lists compared to where I was. Like I'm excited about the Spider Foes list I've been playing. I'm excited about the monsters coming out. I'm excited to try Apocalypse. And I'm excited to try Red Skull 3. And so like there's definitely stuff I want to play. But when it all boils down to it, it feels like I'm just playing into the same thing over and over again. And it's better than what I have. It really destroys my motivation to play those games. And I'm hoping that that's not going to feel that way. So
you could always just play 4-pointers and then never lose.
Motherfucker.
Because everybody told me that I was going to lose against really good lists, and then I played 4-pointers.
Honestly, Parker, if I rolled like you, I don't think I'd ever lose. Like it just feels insurmountable sometimes.
Don't talk to Kenny about rolls, because the last time I played him, I got to play him twice on Friday for a different game, and he was so mad at me at the end of that day.
It's like, what? You crit 8 consecutive times on 3 dice? What the fuck, bro?
Yeah, he just kept going like, how are you only rolling perfect rolls? I was like, I don't know.
It's like, oh, you got 3 Js? That's cool.
Yeah.
Just whatever, man. Just do you. And then he's just breaking markers and throwing dice. Like, he's just pissed off.
He didn't actually... I'm going to give him a lot of credit. He did not break down. He just kept going, yep, makes sense. Yep, yeah, there it is.
He definitely acknowledged it on the podcast, but
cool.
Was not upset about it.
No. No, he did. Yeah, he did not table flip at all. But it was wearing thin. I could tell.
Yeah. Alrighty. Do you guys have anything else you want to chat about today?
No, man. I'm just excited to play more games. I'm excited.
Yeah. You can be there tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I've actually got.
You ain't got fucking D&D to play, so there you go.
Yeah, I can't play D&D this week. So yeah, we're gonna play tomorrow. I'm really excited. After parent-teacher conferences, we're gonna play.
Alrighty. Coolio. Alright, well this has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And you just listened to the World Heavyweight Champion.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We're back.
So back.
Back from Springfield.
One of us, anyway.
What? I mean, we were there in spirit.
I
Were you though?
would have loved to have been there.
I think I was. I was the Brandon Morris that wasn't there in reality. I was him there in spirit. You see, when you're brothers, you can look up at the same moon and know that the other person's looking up at that same moon while standing in the sandy footprints
On the
with
road.
your heart on the road with your brothers. That's how it works.
I'm sure you're making a reference I don't give a shit about.
It's kind of just something that's evolved. Like originally, it was like in your brother's heart on the road, and it was like a Fast and Furious quote, I think. But it has evolved into you just keep adding bullshit to it until it just gets so long that you're like, "What are you talking about?" Like 5 Goes West, like shit like that. Like you're looking up at the moon. I was going to keep quoting animal movies until we get to the end.
Stop it! Stop naming
It's gonna
all
be
the
great.
animal movies.
Why
Why are you trying so hard to spoil
it's
this?
So easy. You don't understand. Animal movies were my babysitter for 20 years. It's what kept me away from the public.
It's really amazing how you've done such a good job of like giving usually one example only to like check to make sure that's what you're.
Yeah,
doing.
normally I'm like, oh yeah,
And
just
and
the
you
one.
just started
it's one that
rattling
nobody would
off
pick.
every animal movie you could think of.
Yeah. Oh,
so
don't worry.
fast.
None of these are on my list of 8. I've already got better ones.
I stopped at 3.
Wow.
I'm confident you guys aren't going to pick mine.
I was going to say
Airbud
that's
3.
big
Airbud
dick
3 is my
energy.
sleeper pick. Did you see the one where they teach a boa constrictor to play hockey? No? Okay.
No. My
I mean, Dunstan checks in was pretty good too.
Air Force. Sorry, Airbud. Who did the bit about Airbud? Was that?
It's one of the stand-ups. I don't remember who.
I think it was Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Yeah, he goes.
There was. There's no. Yeah, it's an SNL. No, it's an SNL skit where I think it might be that new big chubby guy, Shane Gillis, where he plays the coach of the other team that keeps losing to these guys. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, I understand there's no rule against a dog playing basketball, but like, I thought this was a human league. Like, it's just like, this is not fair. And they just keep losing these heartbreaker miracle games to these fucking random teams with animals.
He's
like,
like,
apparently
Coach,
you're allowed to play with horses.
I was like, Coach, we didn't know there's going to be angels in the outfield. He was like, no, we didn't prepare for supernatural
that guy
outfielders.
levitated 20 feet off the ground. Like, nobody knows.
Do you see he gave Billy a wedgie and it like wrapped around his head?
Yeah.
And so the end of it is, all right, we're at the championship game now. What's our game plan? and the kid, okay, Billy, what happens if we have werewolves, point guards? Silver bullet, coach. Like their plans are all just how to like hunt supernatural nightmares. Oh, it's good stuff.
Oh, I need to check what order I get to, because I'm gonna win this on the first pick. If I get to go first, I'm gonna unvote for myself. All right. No, I'm in last place. So I started watching a show called The Mentalist. And the only reason I started watching it is because they reference it a lot in a show I do like called Psych. Are you familiar with Psych?
Mm-hmm.
I watched.
So it's
Good.
You watch Psych?
I watched like 2 episodes and couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense that you wouldn't like it because it's a little too immature, I think, for what you tend to like. So I actually would recommend you watching The Mentalist.
I have. I don't know if I've watched like every episode.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely seen some episodes.
Okay. The thing I love about it is that the episode or the serial part of it where they're following the one psycho killer guy, Red John. That stuff's all interesting, but like the procedural drama I can take or leave.
Mm-hmm.
But
I want to say I've seen
really,
everything because it makes.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
But it was just, I think the Red John stuff they do really well, and I'm getting to the end of the show now, and I think it just had a very cathartic resolution to that situation that I think I was surprised they put on like USA Today TV. But yeah, it's been pretty fun, but it's mostly just something I can put on while I'm busy doing other stuff.
I started working out last week, and my show to watch while I work out is Tracker from CBS, only because Colbert makes fun of it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why. It's a fucking horrible show. But I'll power through 13 episodes and pick something else in next week or so.
Wait, what? You're going to power through a show you hate that's bad?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I am not impressed with it. How about that?
Yeah, it's just
mediocre. I would, after 3 episodes, would not recommend it, but it doesn't completely turn me off. Like, say, I don't think Psych was that bad, but like The Office. Like, I just couldn't get past The Office after a couple episodes. It just wasn't for me, right? So this is a fine, stupid CBS procedural thing. I don't think I'm going to end up liking it, but the commitment is so little. I'll at least finish the first season.
Yeah,
because there's only one.
How interesting.
There's that, I can't remember the name of the psychological phenomenon, but where it's like if something is not insurmountably bad, you will suffer through it. But if it is insurmountably bad, you'll make your situation better. It's one of those, like, if you had to walk like half a mile, you would walk it and just be annoyed and be fine with it. But if you had to walk 5 miles, you would find a way to not walk, which would make the entire thing take less time. But it's like a show where it's like, well, there's only 8 more episodes. But if it was a 6-season show, you wouldn't finish the first season, right?
Probably not. You are correct.
Right.
I might give it the first season to see if it gets better.
Yeah.
And then kind of make a determination.
It's just interesting that, like, the fact that a show only has 1 season means that more people tend to finish the first season. As where if you're like, oh, well, this is just going to be 6 seasons of this, I'm not going to watch it. It's just a funny phenomenon that I've noticed a lot of people.
I'm going to take a 90-degree turn here and just go ahead and agree with Aaron. I am watching The Office all the way through with Sarah, and
you don't like it?
It's not a superb show. It's actually really, really cringe funny. Like a lot.
It's cringe humor.
It's really cringe funny, and I am learning that I don't
like that.
I don't appreciate cringe humor. Like, like I really enjoyed Parks and Recreation, but Parks and Recreation was absurd, right? It's absurdist humor. And Parks and Recreation is kind of like a clean, like on the spectrum of absurdism. There's like a dark absurdism and like a bright absurdism, and I feel like Parks and Rec is like really good bright absurdism, and like Always Sunny is really dark absurdism, right? Yeah. But
especially like the first season of The Office was really hard to watch because it's solely like cringe humor. So like the first scene where he like calls Pam in to fire her and she starts crying, it's just like, is this supposed to be funny? And you're like, no, it's supposed to be funny because it's not funny. And you're like, what? You're like,
we're on season 4 right now, and it hasn't, it hasn't really eased up. There are a couple episodes of The Office that are masterclasses. Like, they're so good that
the Kevin Chili episode,
the chili, the chili moment, the episode that takes place, the dinner party, episode.
The dinner party. Oh my god,
that dinner party episode is one of the best episodes of television ever made. It's
it's almost exclusively cringe comedy too.
Yes, but
they just hit it so hard, that you can't not be funny.
Yes, it is absolutely outstanding. But like my favorite episodes are actually the ones that feature like Dwight and the Schrute farm. Because it goes back to absurdism, which is my favorite thing. So like,
I would say the later seasons especially are definitely more outrageous than cringe. So I think you'll like that.
I didn't know this, but since my wife follows the podcast Office Ladies, they had lots of producers and writers on the show. They have them kind of like rotating through as they do different episodes. And the episode that takes place at Schrute Farms was actually a retooling of a pilot for a spinoff. So they originally were going to do a spin-off called Schrute Farms, and it was about Dwight and his family and like all the things that happened at Schrute Farms. It never happened. Like the pilot never even took off, but they wrote it, and so they decided to go back and turn it into an episode of The Office. So like, but it was going to be an absurdist show, right? And like the fact that I recognize that episode as being very different than the rest of The Office is not an accident. Like it was going to be a different show, with a different take. And I really, one of the things like that, whenever I hear about like writing, like solutions and how people come up with things, it makes me realize what I like more. And so I've determined that I really appreciate absurdist stuff. That's what I dig.
Okay. Yeah, I like absurdist things as well.
Mm-hmm. It's also the reason why, like, lots of episodes of Seinfeld I really like, but the ones featuring like George's family or like episodes that focus on Kramer, like I love all of that because it's just absurdist and again like turned up to 11, right? Just wildly absurd. It's perfect.
I actually like the vast majority of sitcoms I watch. And I don't understand why. I just vehemently hated Everybody Loves Raymond. And nobody else seemed to. I seemed to be the only person that didn't like it. And I never understood why. Like, I could watch just about any sitcom. But Everybody Loves Raymond just annoyed the shit out of me. I didn't think almost any of it was funny. It was just so boring.
I would say absolutely.
Oh, really? You didn't like it?
No, my dad watched it religiously every single time it came on.
Just like, why? Like, it's not good.
Maybe I need to watch it again as an adult and I'd have a better, a different opinion. But
yeah, maybe it's supposed to be funnier just because of the everyday life shit that you don't understand as a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, I've had this argument. I get it. It's like the toilet seat thing. You're like, oh, until you've had this argument, you're never gonna understand why.
There's a lot of that era of neighbor comedy, is what's sometimes called, where the show revolves around a single person's house and the neighborhood, like right around the house. And like that was functionally the entire show, which is what that was about, right? Family dynamics in a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And all of those are snooze fests for me. They just nothing happens. Like,
yeah.
And I know some people really dig it. And I think that's what it is. It's just like brainless, turn off your brain and stare at nothing. But I don't appreciate that kind of humor. I want to have to watch. Bores me to death.
In other gaming news, they just released the draft rules for Euro Bowl and Blood Bowl for 2025, and the collective Blood Bowl community is losing their shit.
Oh,
the draft rule? Oh, you mean like not to draft players, but draft like first draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or second draft, or wherever they're at. Yeah, it is.
Did they make a big change?
Yeah. Their stated goal is to kind of shake up the meta a little bit with, team builds. So they're restricting the number of skills you can have, including your starting ones, and they're going down in team value quite a bit.
So, like, if I had a witch elf who has like jump up, frenzy, dodge, I couldn't like give her block as well because that'd be 4 skills on one player.
No, it's if you already have 4 block on your team, you can't give it to anyone else.
Oh, so it's like diversification.
If you're taking dark elves and they start with 4 block because you bring 4 blitzers, you cannot put block on a witch elf.
Oh, they're including the starting skills. So if I played Norse, I couldn't give block to my Yeti because all my linemen have block.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, interesting.
So it is definitely shaking up the meta to the point where people are like mad. Like, well, I just can't play lizards. I can't give them 6 block. Why would I ever play lizards? And, other people will counter that argument. And anyway, it's a bunch of hissy back and forth. I'm like, oh my God, you guys all need to
It definitely makes the game more interesting to not have 6 identical players running around that all have the same upgrades.
So the counterpoint by the people who are mad are that there are 5 or 6 teams that benefit greatly. For instance, Amazons don't need, like, they can't put dodge on anyone else because their entire team already has it. So they just get to put 4 block and 3 other skills. They're cheap, so a lower team value benefits them. So it's a lot of, well, okay, you're shaking up the meta, but you're really just telling us these 6 teams are the top teams. So why would we even consider the rest? It's not diversifying the meta; it's just shaking it up.
It's kingmakering,
or rather, just it's spinning the wheel, right? Putting something else on top.
Yes. Sure. So maybe like that's the discussion that's being had, but it's not being had in an adult fashion.
Yeah, it's probably over like the course of less than a week, I would imagine. So
24 hours.
Yeah, so imagine what happens when a group of 10,000 people sit down and math hammer it for 6 months? Do they find stuff they've never even considered before? because they haven't considered it because it was never the way stuff worked. So you could end up with some really cool, interesting teams. Like maybe there's an Underworlds team that's all of a sudden really cool that you can do that you couldn't do under the old rules.
Underworld's always been top tier.
Yeah, I know. But
Until like
random example.
Yeah.
I think one of the just recently I've got into, I don't know if you guys have ever tried this before, competitive Pokemon. You guys familiar? Not the TCG.
I
the video
very
game.
Loosely. I've known people that have been into it.
And this conversation reminds me of it because one of the things they do in competitive Pokemon, the video game, is they shake up the meta 3 times a year by completely changing the Pokemon available in the game. Like they'll just literally just like take huge chunks of Pokemon in and take huge chunks of Pokemon out.
Yeah, rotation.
Yeah, and it's really big, and they do it 3 times a year, which I think is really fascinating. So you only get 4 months to play with a certain group of everything. When your library of Pokemon is usually several hundred, you have lots of options. But I thought about it as I've been watching some of these videos and looking at some of the meta analysis that players are doing. And I was thinking about games that I've played. I was like, I don't know if I've ever played a game that has, a stock of possible options like you do for Pokemon and other Pokemon games. However, one of the things I think is really interesting about it is every 4 months people innovate, and it's like kind of just part of the culture. Mm-hmm. So rather than bemoan it and get really mad every single time the Pokemon company, because they're the ones who choose which Pokemon are available and legal, every time they change it, rather than getting mad and be like, oh, my favorite Pokemon can't be used anymore, fuck you, Pokemon, which is like I think the knee-jerk reaction I see a lot whenever somebody shakes up a meta for any reason in any game that's in person, because this is kind of baked into the tournament structure. Like from day one, everyone goes, okay, this will be really good for 4 months, and just when the meta is starting to settle into something more solid, it'll get shaken up again, and then brand new Pokemon and brand new strategies will be created, and that'll go for about 4 months, and just as people are starting to figure out what is actually the best, it'll be shaken up again. And I wondered if that could ever happen in something. Could there be a game like MCP, for example, that would just have so many characters available that you could create that kind of shakeup?
Yeah, I feel like
absolutely could.
Yeah, we're getting there with MCP. There's just so many obvious meta staples. Like, what happens if you just banned for 6 months? Just say twice a year, just simple and clean. For 6 months, you couldn't play Luke Cage, Lizard, Black Cat, and I don't know, pick somebody. At every point total, like Toad. Just get rid of all of those for 6 months, and all of a sudden, Red Guardian starts seeing the table, because a lot of these models have equivalent changes. Like Blob starts getting played. You see a lot more shakeup in the same rosters because a lot of these models weren't affiliated anyway.
Yeah. And I think Timelines is kind of an attempt to do that.
I think that's a fair observation. I'm not a fan of how they did Timelines. I don't think it's bad that they tried. I think it's probably really good that they tried. But the way they're doing it just seems kind of clunky and odd and confusing, really. Like, it's very complex to just do a simple rotation.
One of the things that I like about the way Pokemon does it is in every one of these years, basically, like a season is a year. In every one of these seasons, they will have one of the 4 that allows big ass broken bullshit to be played.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. They're just like, one of the 3 regulations, they call them regulations, one of them will just let you use legendary Pokemon. Just like the best Pokemon in the game. You can't use as many as you want. You can't fill your team with them, but sometimes they'll let you use 1. Sometimes they'll let you use 2. And they change how many each season, and so you always have the option of playing the most broken thing, but so does your opponent. And if you choose one, you don't get to choose the other sometimes, but sometimes you do get to choose both. It just creates, from year to year, season to season, this really awesome revolving meta. So it's really fun. From right now, I'm just somebody who's watching. It's really fun to watch, because it's really dynamic, and people are constantly innovating and coming up with really cool ideas.
I think that's something Pokemon's always done a really good job of, is have obviously you want to diversify your team and have different options, but while also having synergies. But their ability to switch in different Pokemon for those different roles has always been really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, well, I need my Earth type. It's like, well, I can run Diglett, I can run Onix, I can run Graveler, I can run all these different Pokemon that accomplish different things, and then changing that Pokemon on your team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, Graveler is better against these types, and so, but like Diglett's better against these types, and so all of a sudden now it's like, well, now I need a different air type, I need a different flying type, I need a dragon. You're like, and so one little change can dramatically change the whole team. So you don't get super samey rosters until things have been really ground to dust.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, these are technically the best after 100,000 attempts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then there's always like the heavy skew teams you can do, where it's like, well, I'm just going to take a bunch of guys that are really good at one thing.
Do you think we don't see that in the games we were playing, which was primarily minis games? Do you think we don't see that because game companies are nervous about invalidating like hobbies?
Minis games in general, you tend to see stuff like that because it's, first of all, people don't tend to jump on the bandwagons as hard in minis games as they do in like card games because it's a lot more personal. The models that you're buying are very much more important to you than a piece of cardboard with cool art.
Right.
And then on top of that, invalidating $160, $75 purchases that people have made for long periods of time can be very off-putting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a weird spot.
Yeah, I could see somebody, being very frustrated if, but I mean, that's what they did with timelines. I said that out loud. I was like, well, yeah, but they did that with timelines.
And but it's the alternate format. It's not the main format.
Right.
It'd be one thing if they said, timelines is our tournament format for the next 6 months. Official tournaments, we encourage them to use this format, right? And that it would be adopted. Well, I think it would be adopted, while leaving all of the casual players free to play the game as printed 5 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. But they didn't. They said it's a con format. And it's super convoluted. You need 3 teams, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I wish they just said, and they could use the list they made, and just said, this is the official format for the next 4 months or whatever, 6 months. Here it is.
But they have to distinguish between like the official format, right? Because then someone's going to show up to game night with their old stuff because they're not paying attention to anything, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to show up with my cultivated prepping for a tourney list, and it's just going to get, expectations are weird. Which is why it needs to not be an official, format's the wrong word, but it needs to be an alt format to the core game. And that alt could be tournament.
Right.
I don't know. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to think too much about it.
That's true. I've actually thought about this too. This is a really out there hypothetical. But I thought about, one day, one day, because this is the cycle of things, because we're not playing 40K, one day this game will wane, right? If it's waxing now, one day it wanes. Every minis game I've ever bought does eventually. And I've considered about what the next minis game is, and I've wondered if it will be a minis game, because I could take every minute that I use devoted to imagining solutions to problems in a minis game, and I wonder if I could just change it to Pokemon. The frequency of conventions and the frequency of major tournaments for Pokemon is very similar to minis games. Like, I could just start doing that instead. And I thought about it. I've been like, I wonder what that would be like. Because I feel like, because a lot of the people I'm following, when they're talking about going to cons, they're having almost exactly the same experience that I do at a con, right? Mm-hmm. It's just for specifically a video game instead of that. However, I know, because I've been to them and participated in them, TCG cons do not attract the same kind of people as minis games cons. And I appreciate minis game people. That's why I keep playing minis games. I wonder if I would go to a Pokemon tournament and just, or video game Pokemon, and be immediately going, ugh, mistake.
Never know till you try it.
I guess.
I have never played a TCG, really for fear of being sucked in and losing my life savings.
Yeah, I played and went to cons for the old school Legends of the Five Rings game, and I really, really liked the setting and the art and the game itself. And so I really enjoyed playing that, but And maybe it is individual games, because I always felt like the people who played those games, they're also the same people who played War Machine in my community, right? There was very much our folks. And yet I also, after, because I was doing that at the time and I wasn't playing any minis games, I was like, I wonder if, it's harder to get L5R games. Like, they're not all as available as, Magic the Gathering. So maybe I'll try MTG. And I built one deck, played one tournament. I was like, nope.
Never again.
I do not like it. I'm sure there's some people out there that are great with Magic. I'm sure it's really fun for them and awesome, healthy community. But it's kind of like Warhammer. Every time I've tried, and I've tried more than once, I immediately just turned right around and did a Homer Simpson, just faded in the bush, just like,
yeah. You're just like, well, it's even worse than that, because you're just like, it's almost like you just are the guy walking out to the parking lot, windmilling his shit into his car and driving away forever. Like you're just, I'm never going to do this again because I fucking hated it so much.
And so it's probably more about like the community and like the game and who it attracts, probably, because I know I've played other card games, like I played a couple Star Wars games, played a Lord of the Rings game, and I enjoyed all those folks and those games. So I've done some TCGs. I don't think I could do it anymore, though, just because kind of like my thing for you, not so much money that I'm missing, Aaron. For me, it's the waste afterwards. I have a pile of War Machine minis, and it doesn't bother me because I can look at them, like they're still visually cool, like it's a kind of an impressive collection. When I look at boxes of cardboard and all I see is just this repeating pattern of white in a white box, I just look at it.
Destiny cards doing,
and I just all those dice from Destiny, the Star Wars Destiny, and I just look at them like, ugh, I feel like I'm gonna vomit. I'm just like, what incredible waste.
That's why I got into minis games as opposed to card games way back when. There's something tangible.
Yeah.
The only game I've ever gotten into where I didn't already know people playing, like it was just cold, get in, didn't know anyone in the community, was War Machine, and which it was only at the time. I knew people that played the game. I just didn't know anyone at that time that was actually playing. And then Netrunner, the card game. And I don't regret either of those. I had a great time playing both of them, but it was the only two games I've ever played that inspired me to get into a game with a community I was not familiar with. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the first time around with 40K, I guess, but I was in high school. So
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because we can talk about things that are related to games we like, and I don't want to just disparage a game. But I'll just tell you this one thing because we're on the topic of other games.
This is gonna be great.
No, just today. Sorry, not today. Monday. Somebody came up to me who I just know really well, but don't get to talk to him very often because he works in another building from me. And he came up and he goes, "Hey, you've played Warhammer 40K before, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I've played it before." He's like, and he said, "So I'm playing the game, the Space Marine," and I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "A lot of people really like these minis games, and I know you play a lot of minis games, like." And, people are, a lot of people that I'm following online and stuff are also into the minis game. Is it a fun game? And I went, let me tell you about my experience with 40K. And so I described it to him. And after he described it, he goes, wow, isn't this like one of the most like biggest games, like biggest minis games? I go, oh, it's the biggest minis game. And he was like, how? Because what you just described just sounds miserable. And I go,
momentum.
And I said, yeah, it's just like, it's too big to fail. Like it just pushes itself forward under its own weight. It's gargantuan weight. And he's like, wow. I was like, yeah. It's like, how much would McDonald's have to fuck up for it to go completely underwater at this point? Yeah. Like it'd be so hard, right?
Burger King's trying, man. They're really trying to go into business.
Yeah, but what I mean is like it'd have to be terrible. And so then I described, and he was like, what games have you played? And so I described like War Machine and stuff like that. I mean, the story we've already gone through, but he was just fascinated by it, like how much somebody could, like how bad a game could be, and yet I mean, still have so many fans.
The saddest part about this whole gaming industry is that it tends to be the most popular game is the worst, and it's so weird. It's just like everyone so desperately wants a community to play with that they're willing to just perpetuate the same game forever because they just want, it's what they're familiar with, it's what they have nostalgia for, even though it's like not what it used to be. And I think War Machine, because like no one ever really played War Machine for like the lore or anything, like that was the one game where it fell so far in such a short period of time, it really kind of forced people out. I had something I want to tell you guys though. There's some people putting together a 40K league that you guys should join.
Aaron hasn't said no yet.
I'm not really kidding. Actually, I'm actually being serious. You guys should.
Aaron hasn't said no. I'm looking at him. He hears you, and he's still in.
It's going to be a 5th edition. They're currently on 10th. We're going to do a 5th edition league. That is not no holds barred. So we'll poo the people that are trying to power game it. And we're just gonna the concept is we'll do a like 6 to 8 week league. That's kind of like not a slow grow league, but like it's got a bit of an acceleration to it. Where like you'll probably start at lower points and accelerate into larger points. But the whole point is at the end of the short league, you will do a mega battle that is a narrative-based game where everyone's playing in the same game, and you do like a cool, like, I don't know, attack, like kill the Death Star kind of mission. And so all the missions leading up to that during the league are going to be narrative-based, like, hey, you need to kill the shield generator, because if you don't do it now, it's still going to be alive in the mega battle. You have to deal with that. It'll be like bad for you at like later. So
yeah, that is one of my favorite things about Warhammer is when you can put together something like that. That does sound really fun.
Yeah. And so that
really?
everyone...
I had the exact opposite reaction.
Oh, yeah. Really?
No, it's not going to be a competitive league, because I don't think you can play 40K competitively in any format. Is because if you play the new stuff, you're on the revolving door of meta chasing. If you play the old stuff, there's not enough meta rotation to have a competitive game, because it's just not fair. Like, there is a best army in 5th edition. And so if you just play the best stuff, you're going to win a lot. It's just really boring.
There's one problem for me, which is I am absolutely not willing to collect an army for this. So
it's okay, somebody will give you an army.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody just had a bunch of models and said, play some 5th edition Tyranids or Orcs.
Let me tell you about 40K players and having extra models.
I thought they all sold them for 4 cents on the dollar to funnel their new purchase.
No, that's only some of them. Those are the meta chasers. They're just trying to like rip any remaining value out of their armies that they usually used to have. They're selling their like 2,000 point Space Marine army for like, I don't know, 3 Cokes and a monster. And you're just like, okay, like whatever, dude. It scares me to think of how many people have gotten like literally negative money return on their original investment. Because we had this kid up at the shop that was given a modern deck. Like he was just like, some guy was like, hey, you hang out here a lot and you want to play Magic. Here's just a modern deck that you can have. It's like a $600 deck in MSRP. Like you just buy all the cards in it. And immediately the kid was like, this is amazing. He started playing in modern events. And then he was like, hey, I need like food for the day because I don't have a job. I'm at the game store all day. So he sold one of the cards in it for like, I don't know, $10 in snacks. And so he realized that this deck had like recoupable value. And so he just kept trading off cards to the store for a terrible return to buy snacks. And eventually he got to the point where he's like, is this deck even playable anymore? He's like, not really. Like, it can't win a game. I was like, well, do you just want to just sell the whole thing so you can actually get enough money to afford something to, like, have a new hobby with? And so he sold the whole stack of cards and bought an Imperial Knight and, like, one little box of dudes. And then he started assembling the Imperial Knight and realized that he doesn't like modeling. And then he was like, so he traded the knight and the box of dudes to another guy who had an already assembled knight. And so he's downgraded that to a singular knight. Then he sold that knight for, I think, 2 units of Space Marines and like $40 in cash. And then he traded the Space Marines to another guy for like basically nothing. Like it was like, again, like $10 in cash and like, I don't know, 2 little characters. And then, so like over the course of like 3 months, he traded this $600 modern deck down to, it was like 2 little D&D characters and some Sonic food was all he had to show for it. And he ate the Sonic food, right? So now you just have these 2 D&D characters.
That is amazing. That's like,
and so
that's awesome.
That's what people do with like the meta chasers tend to do with 40K is like they'll come in, they'll buy the Flash in the Pan army, they'll play it for 3 months and like then it'll get nerfed or something else will come out that's better than it. Then they'll trade their army in for like 10 cents on the dollar and then buy into the new army, and they just keep flipping it. So there's nothing left of the original stuff. It's just all new value. It's like, you should just kept everything. Like, you would actually have the army that you just bought into if you just never sold it in the first place. And I know some people, I know 2 people in the store individually that have each bought into Necrons 4 separate times.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And each time they're selling it like 20 to 30 cents on the dollar at best.
That's... It reminds me, have you ever seen... You hear the story of the guy who, uses, Craigslist to trade... he takes
Just
an old cell phone and eventually turns it into a Jeep.
But trade a paperclip for a house.
That kind of trades. Yeah. And this is the opposite of that, where I'm going to trade. I'm going to turn money into nothing.
End of the trades. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. If you told me that we are going to play Mark III in exactly the same scenario, just replace all of the words that say Warhammer with War Machine, and all the words that say,
if somebody started a throwback Mark III League at somewhere around Dynamic Update 1 or 2, I would be in literally in a heartbeat. I'd be walking to the garage to get my models out of the attic.
That's exactly what I'm
doing it.
That's what I'm talking about. You would have to stop me for bringing in all of my models. You would have to quit. To push them away from the door.
Yeah. I would be so in. But I just don't have the heart to do it myself. I just don't.
Well, the Warhammer one, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the person standing across from me with a different Warhammer army.
The whole point of the league, though, is also it's invite only. So it's we're not going to just have an open league at the store where people are going to jump in and ruin it. It's no. Our goal is to create this fun narrative experience that is what 40K is all about, is creating these cool situations and playing it out. And so after we do it once, we're okay, well, what did we like? What do we not like? And we'll just tweak it, and we'll just do it again every quarter.
No, I got to know. Aaron immediately pulled a Shark Tank and said, I'm out. Why, Aaron, are you out? What about narrative makes you sad?
Everything. Literally everything.
Yeah, Aaron doesn't like narrative play.
I don't play games to have fun. I play games to crush your soul and see it leave your body through your hollow eye sockets.
That is that you set up a league with another new player at our store with specific goofy rules in mind. I just got done playing all day Friday. And all I got to do was use your made-up rules for judgment.
So just to clarify, Aaron, you're not supposed to throw your punches during the game. You're just not supposed to bring a cutthroat list, which I know that you have done in many game systems before.
Yes.
No.
But when I'm playing that not cutthroat list, I'm going to play it to the best of my ability, right?
No, yeah.
That's why I play a game.
That's expected. Yeah,
right.
No, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But what you're not supposed to do is look up online, well, this model has the best point to damage ratio in the game, so I bought 87 of it. And you're like, okay, well, thanks. 40K is breakable. And so it's but what if you bring a thematic army, you're supposed to make the best possible decisions. You're not supposed to just do dumb shit. It's kind of like playing a board game. It's here's what you're allowed to play with.
Yeah. Do
your best with it.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not a fan of narrative stuff in general, regardless of the setting. The minis games for me are all about the puzzle that my opponent is trying to force me to solve, and the variant set is the dice and how it impacts that puzzle solving. Right? That's mini gaming.
And you know what? That might be why I struggle with 40K, because I also love the puzzle. I don't love the puzzle. I love exploring. I love learning. And in 40K, what I actually want to do is, because I know so much about the lore, and that's my favorite part of 40K, I want to make a White Scars army with nothing but bikes. And I want to use the rules to make that, and then when I find out that just doesn't translate into specifically the game of 40K, I'm just using an example. It might be fine. But the point is,
so much like our D&D game, though, I am intentionally putting the training wheels on everybody to where we're not breaking shit, and because of that, it makes everything in the game viable, and so no one's having a bad time. It'd be the same thing with the league. It's okay, well, we know that we could just, like, I've played 5th edition 40K, and be like, this is my list. Like, congrats, you're getting fucking shit stomped. But, like, we're just not going to do that.
Right. Because I bought a White Scars army. It was fucking awesome. And then I played like a Tau player and an Imperial Guard player, and
you just picked up all your models.
They just literally lined up in the back 4 inches of the board and just stood there and shot me for 2 rounds while I
you just watch them walk from one end of the table to the other, pointing at a las cannon and rolling dice, and then you just pick up a guy every time they did that.
And the good news is,
go ahead.
No, you go.
I played competitive 40K for about 2 years.
Oh, look at him.
I want to say it was 5th ed, although I can't swear to it. 2011 to 2013.
That's around the right time frame. It might have been into 6th ed a little bit, but 6th was very similar to 5th. It just had some really hokey changes.
Okay. I guess I also played it before then, so maybe 2009 to 2013.
Okay.
I played Necrons
probably 5th.
well before they were good.
Yeah.
They were actively bad.
That was 5th.
And then I swapped to Space Wolves in min-maxed Rhinos and Razorbacks with Devastator squads.
That was later 5th, yeah.
Yeah, that was the actual good version of when I got tired of losing with Necrons. I was like, okay, we'll swap to Space Wolves, and I had a good time with that. I actually took that overseas, played in a couple of tournaments in Norway. Cool.
With your Space Wolves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How thematic.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't like narrative play.
So you're saying so did you ever like get into the lore 40K, or were you just like these are guys with rules on paper?
It was 95% guys rules on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Now the aesthetic still has to appeal, right? So I was absolutely never going to buy Vanilla Marines because that's just, who wants vanilla shit. So Space Wolves thematically was attractive to me. But I did not buy them because the particular rule set was... I wasn't meta chasing when I bought them. How about that?
Yeah.
I wanted I had Necrons. I wanted a Space Marine army. I'm like, okay, what are the Space Marine armies out there? Like, nope. Like, oh, Space Wolf. That sounds cool. Let's do those. So
yeah. No, Space Wolves are definitely the coolest Space Marine army in like 4th and 5th edition. Like, just from a thematic standpoint. Later on, they added a bunch of other options to other lists. But it was basically just Dark Angels and Space Wolves were the only two that were really, like, interesting. Blood Angels were busted, but they weren't very interesting. All right. We can talk more about 40K later. Let's go ahead and jump into our Mojo world. This week, we have animal movies. Parker, are you excited about your category?
Yeah, actually. I'm really curious to find out what wings have left after you ruined most of them.
I didn't ruin it. It's fine.
Ruiner.
All right, I am going to go first, followed by Parker. All right, I'm going first.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws.
That was on my list.
Yeah, obviously, it's the best movie ever.
I would not call it that at all, but it is good.
It's not my favorite movie ever, but it was considered the greatest movie ever for was it 20 years, and then finally better movies came out. Anyway, that's you, Parker.
I'm losing this one, just so everyone is aware. If you haven't voted for me yet, don't vote for me, because these are only good for me, but I love them.
If you have voted for Parker, go back, unvote for Parker, vote for me.
Yep. My first answer is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch it when I'm sad. It always makes me happy. Babe.
That's... okay.
I love the
solid.
I love the movie Babe.
That's fine. Good job. All right, Aaron, you're up.
I was gonna take Jaws, but instead I'll take Jurassic Park.
Oh, that was my next.
Extinct animals. What a good choice. I didn't even think about extinct animals.
How did you... that's why I was like, dude, you could win this with just Spielberg movies.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. What's your second pick, Aaron?
My next pick is going to be Jumanji.
All right. So I think that means that one of my other choices will be viable. So is the restriction just that there are a decent amount of animals in it, or is I can choose Citizen Kane because there was a dog in the movie?
So you can't. Yeah. Like,
Okay, good.
I think the animals have to be central in some fashion to the plot or theme of the
Yeah, that's
movie
fair.
or a protagonist.
Yeah, I would say there's not like one kind of animal, but jungle animals are the antagonists for most of the Jumanji.
No, yeah, I'm fine with Jumanji. I'm not trying to veto it. I'm just saying that probably means my next movie is going to make it.
Okay.
All right, Parker, you're up.
I'm going to go with one of my absolute favorite movies of all time because it's an animated movie that's not an animated movie. Rango.
Rango. I haven't seen that.
It's one of those things that when you watch, you're like, is this for children? This feels like it's not for children. It's just...
Oh, there's one more that I assume someone's picking that's going to probably win that for them as well.
Okay.
Oh, I'm deep cut on the third one, so it's not me.
Ooh. Well, Parker's usually pretty deep cut on his third one, too. Or he's just like banana fingers. Like something really silly. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
My favorite food, honey buns. You're like, what?
I love honey buns.
I know. We know that. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. All right. All right, here we go. I'm going to take it home. Lion King.
Okay.
And then I don't know how you don't put this on your top 3 of animal movies, but I'm going to put it on here. All Dogs Go to Heaven. I know a lot about this movie, so it rings a little bit harder to me. But there's, I think, the obvious not picked movie so far that I could have gone with that I'm choosing not to because I like this movie more. So.
Okay.
Parker, your final pick.
I really, it's a really close toss-up between these two movies, but I'm going to choose this one because I think it's the better, but it's really close. I'm going to go with The Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Okay. I think that means that arguably the best movie is not going to get picked.
Nope.
Oof. Okay. Aaron, what you got?
It is one of what I consider my cult classic favorites, Lake Placid.
Oh,
I almost put that on my list.
God, I love that movie so much. Only because the expectations when I saw it the first time was so bad. It's like one of those movies where 30 minutes in, I'm like tapping my wife or something. I'm like, oh my God, this movie is so good.
Yeah,
I know. Ooh. Yeah, it just captured like all, because there used to be a bunch of shitty like alligator in the sewer movies, and so like Lake Placid was like the ultimate amalgamation of that when it was finally like perfected.
Yeah, you like watch the trailer, and I would never in a million years want to watch the movie based on the trailer. Yeah, but it is an amazing movie.
It came out like right after Anaconda and all those other like really weird big animal movies. Oh, it was so funny. I liked Lake Placid. Nobody else did.
There also was something about that movie that had a bunch of really good like character actors in it, like Oliver Platt, Brendan Gleeson, Betty White. Like Bridget Fonda. Yeah. Bridget Fonda is kind of terrible, but like so many of those like character actors are amazing character actors. They're really good.
All right, well, we have to elephant in the room. Honorable mention: Finding Nemo.
Oh, really?
Okay. I looked at it and.
No, that's fine. I don't know that it's anyone's favorite movie, but it was like the biggest movie for 5 years. Yeah. I have a funny story. I think I might have told this on the podcast before. It was my 16th birthday, and my friends and I wanted to go see Terminator 3 Salvation. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. Yeah. Because, it hadn't come out yet. We didn't know it was terrible. So we were like, I love Terminator 2. It's my favorite movie. Like, we have to go see it. So we go to the Cinemark over on Johnson Drive. We skip school. My parents don't know I'm going to this movie. We skip school and go to Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. And we can't get in because I'm underaged. They won't let me in. I was the only one of the 6 of us that got carded. And so they all bought tickets for Terminator 3, and I'm in line. And they're like, yeah, you can't go in. You don't look like you're 18. I'm like, they don't either. Like, we're clearly all from high school, you fucking dipshit. So they wouldn't let me in. So, and then we talk about it for a minute. I'm like, I got it. I'm going to buy a ticket to Finding Nemo because they were out at the same time. And so I bought a ticket to Finding Nemo. We all had to buy tickets to Finding Nemo because once they figured out I was underage, they carded everybody and they refunded their tickets. So we all bought tickets to Finding Nemo. And we just go to the Rise of the Machines theater, right? Because we're, not idiots. But it's 1:30 in the afternoon because we're skipping school. And so we go into the theater and they just don't turn it on because nobody bought a ticket for it.
Oh my god.
And so we're sitting in a dark theater for 45 minutes just like, and we don't have cell phones because this is before cell phones, for kids anyway. And so I was like, oh, I guess it's just never going to start. So we went out, we like sneak out into the hallway, look around, make sure nobody saw us come out. We go find a clock. Like, yeah, the movie was supposed to start already. And then we just decided to go watch Finding Nemo. And apparently that was the universe's Christmas or birthday present to me, is that I got to watch Finding Nemo instead of Terminator 3. Because it's such a shit movie.
Yeah.
But yeah. So then later that week, I downloaded Terminator 3 on LimeWire. So and it was fucking god-awful.
My honorable mentions are one I just did the other day, so I couldn't do it again, which is Mouse Hunt. Mouse Hunt's
yeah, Mouse Hunt's great.
I actually this is gonna be really like basic, but I actually really like Seabiscuit. I like the movie Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit is a good movie. Next up for me, I have a great honorable mention. I probably watched this movie 30 times as a kid. Is Homeward Bound.
Yeah,
I think it's Michael J. Fox as the voice of the American Bulldog.
Sounds right.
Yeah, super good one.
My last one is another one like Fantastic Mr. Fox, but it's Isle of Dogs. I actually really liked Isle of Dogs. It's not many people have seen Isle of Dogs. It's really out there, but it's good.
This was the one I assumed you were going to try and veto if I named it, was Aladdin. But he's got the monkey.
Yes.
And the parrot. And the parrot talks.
You can't count, like, no, I would have done that. Because, like, every Disney movie has an animal sidekick. Like,
that was kind of my point, but yeah. That's why I decided not to put Aladdin on there.
Yeah, Little Mermaid, yeah, there's like 3 animals in it all the time, but no, I'm not. I think Jumanji made sense because animal antagonists are really consistent.
Yeah, like the whole, I mean, even though it's not the animals specifically, but like you can't, like the point of that movie was to get animals on screen, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I think the CGI still holds up.
Oh, yeah.
For a 1995 movie is pretty impressive.
I actually just watched the other day, a digital artist made this really cool video about, and the name of the video was, why does everything look so clean now?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how movies just appear incredibly crisp and clean, and how that doesn't, instead of making the movies, you know, it makes sense as technology evolves, right, to increase resolution and decrease fidelity, you know, and to you would think that it would just allow for filmmakers to make things like more to their exact vision, but it also creates this weird, like, almost
you can see
uncanny valley where people are like, that doesn't look real at all, like not even a little bit. So like CGI from Jurassic Park looks better than CGI from, you know, She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And they're like, why does it look better? Well, so like She-Hulk is so insanely high fidelity. Everything looks so crisp and clean. It looks unnatural. Whereas Jurassic Park looks gritty and grimy because the technology wasn't perfect, and so they had to shoot it at night pretend it was at night in the rain because they wanted people to be able to be fooled by that. But what
not to mention the resolution was just smaller, right? Like
right.
You didn't have as many pixels,
right? And so they're like, but what actually ended up happening as an interesting result of that is that it looks more real because, as it turns out, not everything happens with beautiful golden light all around you at all times. Like, that's not the way the world works. And so it ended up becoming like those movies feel more accessible. And the guy specifically pulled out something that we've talked about before, or did I don't know if you actually saw that. Maybe I was talking about this with my brother. But Dune, the new Dune movies, Dune Part 1 and Part 2. Okay, well, specifically, the director and the cinematographer chose to basically re-gritty it, basically to make it more authentic looking on purpose. By even the scenes in which they did a lot of visual effects, they purposely made it look more dirty functionally, because they wanted it to kind of resemble these earlier movies that felt more real. And so those movies do, when you watch them the whole time, you're like, wow, visually this movie is amazing, but why does it feel like these older movies? And it's because they literally made it less incredibly high fidelity and perfect edges and, you know, perfect shape like you see, you know, in some of the modern stuff. It was kind of cool. They had a couple other examples, but Dune is the one that stuck out because I loved the way Dune looked visually, and the cinematographer made this really cool video about that. I thought it was interesting. But this is why, like, with some of these animals and some of these animal movies we talked about, like, they look so amazing, right? And if they did them today, they would look so fake and dumb. But like,
well, I didn't realize over the last few years there's been such a push for removing real animals from movies and TV shows. Like, it's very rare to see a practical effect with an animal anymore, and so there's just so much more CGI shoved in your face, and that's like one of the hardest things anime is like an animal with fur. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to make that look real.
Yeah, when you said the Lion King, I really hoped you weren't going to troll. The first thing I thought you were going to say Lion King, the new one, the hyper realism one. It's like because that shit was just so cringy the whole time. I mean, it's just Lion King again, but it was just felt so cringy because the whole thing like for me, I was like, I told Sarah, if they had done this with real lions and shit, I would have been really impressed. But instead, they're just animating it a different way. It seems like it was such a weird, obvious cash grab. I don't understand.
That was the best part. I was like, with the Lion King, the live action movie, you're like, but it's not live action.
Yeah.
Like, it's a realistic look.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to grab some more water. I'll be right back.
I'm really excited to listen to the follow-up Judgment episode about our adventures with the draft that you made. Mm-hmm. I'm excited. I'm glad. I had one more question about it, actually, Aaron.
Sure.
Do we get to do that at an official con or something anytime soon, or is there no plan currently in the works for that to happen?
You going to LVO?
No, I don't think I can go to
LVO. Then the first time it will be available is, I think, the last week of April. I'm going to run a 3-day Judgment. Con's the wrong word, but con-like event structure in Kansas City.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
We're going to see if we can get Oklahoma and Nebraska and whatnot to come travel for a 3-day Judgment party.
Cool.
So I'm going to run it then, and I'll run it again in August at the Gateway Open.
Gateway Open?
I think I've been to Gateway before.
It'll be
where is that?
St. Louis?
St. Louis.
Yeah.
I think it's a semi-replacement for Daikon.
It might be. It's mainly a 40K GT with a couple extra other games. And we're going to add Judgment to that list and use the venue.
Coolio indeed.
All right, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.